I believe that opportunity is like energy. It really can never be destroyed, but it does transform into other things. And to find it, you need to go to different places and use different techniques to access it. I have a I have a young friend. He's about 27 years old. He has the same, more or less, attitude that I see on here in the manosphere. Um, it's almost like a black pilled type of attitude. All opportunity is gone. Boomers evaporated it. It's all their fault. There's very little opportunity left. Things are different today. I'm never going to be able to get ahead. The whole 9 yards. Along that line. And I told him that he's wrong. And he knows my background in the real estate. That I've been doing for over 30 years. And I challenged him. Because we got into a heated debate, and I challenged him, and I told him. I said, "Look," I said, "I don't know much about much." I said, "But this is one area that you really need to pay attention to what I'm saying because I really do know uh, what's going on in this particular area." And anyways, we got to talking, and we made a plan. Um, and I took him out, okay, on a uh, uh, expedition, so to speak. I took him to an area of South Mississippi. Most of you know that I live in South Mississippi. This area was called Gulfport, Mississippi. It has a lot of ghettos throughout the city. Uh, we went to just driving around. We found a neighborhood, and I was showing him the different signs to look for, and I told him that you just need to accept that. Okay, we're in the ghetto, and but all ghettos are not exactly the same. Okay, and uh, I don't have time in this video to go through every single detail. But anyways, we parked my truck and we got out, and I told them exactly what the plan was, the initial plan. I said we were going to start knocking on doors and be honest with the folks and tell them we are looking for a house to buy, and we really didn't have standards for the condition of the house, so to speak. The phrase "fixer upper," uh, we used a lot. Okay, and I told them, I said, listen, I said, almost every single person we're going to meet here is going to think we're undercover cops. Okay, I told them, I said, I've done this before. Okay, you just try to remain quiet and let me do all the talking. Okay, so we would start knocking on the doors, and half of the people wouldn't come to the door to begin with. Okay, but the ones that did, you know, uh, I talked and was very sincere and said, look, we're trying to find a house that we could fix up. Okay, that the owner would be willing to sell. Okay, and we got a few leads, and we went to those houses, and I explained to my young friend exactly what we were looking for. We were looking for a house that was run down, that was neglected, that was just sitting. It probably is not going to have any power or any water turned on, and it's been in that condition for quite some time. And what we're looking for is probably either an older single woman or an older single man that is holding on to this property, and they would much rather, sell the property, and get some money coming in, than to just keep having it sit there. And I said, and keep this in mind, I said, they're still having to pay property taxes on it while it sits there in this condition. Okay. So, one house led to another house to another house. One conversation led to another conversation, so on and so forth. We finally found an older gentleman, and we went and we talked with him. And he had a house that was in the ghetto, but he wasn't actually in the ghetto, although he was pretty close by in the house where he was living. Okay. Now, the other thing that you need to know, what's so powerful about this is that, see, even though the guy would really want to sell the house, he really can't, because everybody, if he was to try to traditionally, conventionally sell the house would have to be able to pass inspections and code and stuff like that, or else no mortgage company was going to write out a check to purchase the house for the buyer. All right. And this is we were going to try to take advantage of this. Okay. Now, also keep this in mind. This is what I really love about real estate, is that this is not a get rich quick scheme. And this is not a situation where you're taking advantage of somebody. I love real estate first and foremost because everybody usually walks away from the closing table a winner. Okay, everybody got exactly what they wanted, and I love it when those kind of deals come together. So I met with this guy. We wound up talking for a while, and then he completely rejected the entire thing. A few days went by, and the man contacted me. Okay, and we wound up, me, him, and the young man wound up meeting for lunch, and then I explained the whole entire thing that I explained to him before. Okay, he understood that he couldn't conventionally sell his house. He understood that. And so what my proposal is that, okay, look, we could give you $10,000 down, okay? You become the bank and finance the property for 10 years, okay? And we came up with a fair interest rate, 7%, which technically speaking for a deal like this is low, because usually with owner financing, it's usually 10% or higher. Okay. But anyways, 7% is fair. Okay. That's not robbing anybody blind, and that's not overpaying as well too. So everybody be happy with the interest rate. Okay. We would finance for 10 years. So $10,000 down, finance for 10 years. At 7%, that came out to be like 460 something, I think. Okay, a month. Okay, we made a deal about carrying insurance, and I showed. This is another little trick. I'm reaching in my bag, and keep this in mind. Those of you that's watching this, okay, you're not paying any money for this information. Like I said, I really know what I'm talking about, and been doing this for years. Okay, I showed the young man and the owner of how to substitute regular house insurance with tenant occupied insurance to cover basically the sale of the house. And by the way, the total price for the sale of the house was going to be $50,000. So it's $10,000 down and $40,000 over 10 years at 7%. Okay, and that was going to be, like I said, the payment came out to be like $460 something. And then the tenant occupied insurance would cover the $50,000, and I showed the young man how to do that, how to substitute it, and the owner was satisfied with it. And one of the other main secrets is to see if we could. If the house was going to be able to get power. This was an all-electric house, okay? And usually when a house has been sitting almost anywhere, but it's different in different areas, if the house has been without power for more than 6 months, you have to have an inspection by the city uh, to see if power is going to be able to be turned on. So I showed the young man exactly how to pass the inspection, which basically all we had to do was just change out the grounding copper cable, and we had to find a new face to put onto the electrical panel, and we got power turned on. Okay, so the old man got his $10,000 down. Okay, and he's going to be receiving the money a month. Now, the young man, throughout the entire thing, had one objection after another. His objection was, okay, this is the ghetto. And I said, yeah. And I said, but you have to understand, you have to start someplace. Okay. Obviously, you're not going to live here forever. Okay. The plan is to get you into the house. Okay. Now you're living there, and you're going to start fixing the house up as you're living there. You get to keep your job where you're currently working at, okay? And while you're living here, you're going to fix the house up. Part of the deal of the that we made with the old man was that at any time he could the entire loan could be paid off. And I told my friend, my young friend, I said, here's the goal. Okay. I said, now if I was doing this myself, okay, I said, this would take me probably a year, maybe a year and a half tops to do if I was working a full-time job like you have and living here. Okay. The idea is to get the house fixed up. Okay. Also, you've got a couple of credit things going on that you're going to need to fix during that time to raise your credit score. And I said, within a year to year and a half, 2 years tops, I said, you're going to call the bank back in, and you're going to you're going to put financing on this house. Okay. Now the bank is going to see that, you have a certain amount that is being held, by the old man, in the first mortgage. Okay. And the whole idea is that after you get the house fixed up, the value of that house is going to increase dramatically. And I told him, I said, if this house is fixed up, okay, and the bank comes in and puts financing on it, I said, you're going to get an appraisal somewhere around $150,000, okay? And I said, the lowest you'll get was probably about $125,000, and the highest you'll get is probably about $150,000. So $125,000 to $150,000, okay? And the guy, the young man, I can't stress this to you enough. Look, I could have really drugged this video out, but I wanted to just hit all the high points as quickly as possible. So he has a house now, okay? He's paying $400 and something a month. The old man is happy because he got that $10,000 chunk, and then he's receiving income every single month off of that, okay? And the idea is somewhere between a year to 2 years, the young man is going to finish that house. He's going to call in the bank. They're going to do an appraisal of it. And listen, I don't care if it's in the ghetto. One of the benefits and interesting things about getting appraisals, the 3 comps, because it takes 3 comparisons in an appraisal. They're going to try to find some in that neighborhood, but since it is the city, they're going to be able to go outside that neighborhood to unghettofied houses, unghettofied neighborhoods, and the appraisal that they're coming back with is going to be extremely high. Okay, so yeah, and I already showed him, on the computer, all the different appraisals in the area, and anyways, this is just a little short story, just to demonstrate that, listen, there is still opportunity out there. Yes, it has transformed. Yes, it's hiding in different places, and you have to use different ideas and different ways and kind of think outside the box. And another thing too, you can't beat boots on the ground, okay? And boots on the ground was me and him farming. That's what we did, is called real estate farming, where we get out and we're going through the neighborhood. We're talking with people. We found a house that was never listed. It was probably never going to be listed. No one even knew that the owner even wanted to sell the house. We found that opportunity by opening our mouths and walking and talking. Okay, and so, anyways, he's been in the house now for about a month. Got the electricity turned on, got the water turned on, and oh boy, as soon as we got the water turned on, there was like 20 gazillion leaks everywhere. But it's all working out. He's actually made some friends in the neighborhood, and he says it's really not that bad. So you're talking about a house he got into with $10,000. He's paying a little bit a month, that is affordable. The guy makes about $3,500 a month at his regular job, and the type of field that he's in, if anything happens with that job, he could, just switch over to a different job doing the same thing. There is opportunity, gentlemen, and I'm talking to mostly you young guys out there that think that it's over with. It's not over with. Things are different today, but there's still a lot of opportunity. Hopefully within a couple of years, he's going to get the house completely fixed up. And of course, it helps that he has a resource like me, because all the different things that were wrong with the house, I told him, I know how to fix that. I know what's wrong with that. Everything from a hairline fracture. And by the way, the house was originally built in 1966. Okay. And I explained to him and I showed him how superior the wood was in that house from 1966. Back then we didn't build houses with trees that were genetically enhanced for our lumber. If you look at lumber today, the growth rings are about that far apart. But lumber in 1966, the growth rings are so concentrically tight. The wood is almost impervious to termites and to rot and decay. I showed him the problems with the roof and how we could fix that. And yeah, the roof had a giant hole in it from a storm years ago, and it was leaking. There was really only one part of the house that was like really super damaged, and he's already got it temporarily patched, and it's been already drying out, and he's making plans, and he's so excited, and his whole entire attitude has changed. It's changed, and he's now all of a sudden it's like his eyes are now open around him, that things that he passed every single day of his life, driving and walking and everything, there was so much opportunity around. All he needed was somebody that had already done it and could help him take off those glasses, that he's been wearing for so long, and open his eyes, and open his mouth. There is so much power in just raw, sheer determination and motivation. I always said that sheer determination can make up for lack of intelligence, lack of resources, lack of money, lack of a skill or a talent. Just sheer determination. And this time he had me holding his hand, walking him through this entire process. And anyways, and the $10,000, I'm gonna save that for another video. The amount of money that he had to come up with at one time to kickstart off this whole entire thing. I showed him how to put that $10,000 together. But we'll save that for another video. And with that, I'm Captain Rusty Rivers, signing out.